His Excellency the President, Uhuru Kenyatta, has been a champion of forest protection, conservation and management.
The area under forest cover in our country has increased, while the tree cover now stands at 12.3%.
You've seen himself planting trees and visiting forest and visiting. Have you seen all this?
Nobody forced me to come and take care of the forest. I'm doing it as a volunteer.
Sasa hatuharibu misitu, tunatunza.
Taifa letu la Kenya limesonga mbele tangu mwaka wa 2013. Rais wetu oye, umeyatenga yote unayoweza. Wakenya tumeridhika na tunasema Uhuru oye, rais wetu oye.
The launch of the National Forest Resources Assessment Report at State House, Nairobi, was the crowning of the efforts to conserve forests in Kenya, while defining part of President Uhuru Kenyatta's commitment and dedication to environmental conservation not only in Kenya but globally. This is but a highlight of what can fondly be termed as President's green legacy. The report documents the progressive efforts employed and the growth of Kenya's tree and forest cover. This assessment serves as a baseline that is instrumental in developing strategies and action plans to spearhead forest protection, conservation and management in the country for the benefit of current and future generations.
National Forest Resource Assessment Report. It is very critical because what gets measured get managed. We are in the process of preparing the fourth cycle strategic plan. And that will be critical because then in the strategy we'll be able to set out accurate and achievable targets.
The Kenya Forest Service is the anchor and lead agency in the forest management, preservation and rehabilitation. The service draws its mandate from the Forest Conservation and Management Act FCMA 2016.
Based on the National Resource Assessment Report 2021, the area under forest cover in our country has increased from 5.99% in 2013 to 8.83% in 2022, while the tree cover now stands at 12.3%.
12th of May 2018, the President led the nation saying, "This today it has started. By June 30th, 2022, Kenya must have met and surpassed 10% forest cover."
To achieve the goal of 10% tree cover, Kenya needed to raise 1.8 billion high-quality tree seedlings, and therefore the service through various donor projects contributed to construction of model tree nurseries and sank boreholes in various forest stations for sufficient water supply. This success story as it is now hasn't been all rosy. It has been a journey of resilience and persistence. Lessons have been drawn from the past experience where forests had been encroached and government agencies used a rather combative approach in evicting people from the forests. This approach, however, changed after Kenya Forest Service realized that communities around the forest can either be enemies or allies in conservation matters. They choose to make them allies and implement human rights-based approach in forest rehabilitation.
Initially, we were living inside Masai Mau forest, which is a water tower. So what we were normally doing here, we were digging maize, potatoes and cabbages, but after eviction, the government started rehabilitating the forest. So we joined hands with the government and started our own indigenous tree nursery that we are nurturing tree seedlings that we normally plant in Masai Mau forest. We are now part of the people who are protecting the forest because we have joined hands with the government to ensure that this forest is conserved.
Hapa tuko katikati ya Uhuru Forest na back 2008, 2009, 2010 huu msitu ulikuwa umeisha kabisa na ni sisi community tulikuwa tumefertilize, kushoma makaa, kutoa post, mianzi na ikawa tukagongwa na janga la kiangazi. Na wakati huo kulikuwa kubaya sana kwa sababu hata chakula hatukuwa, maji hatukuwa. Sasa Uhuru imekuwa sawa kwa mvua. hatukuwa tunalima vegetables kama mboga, viazi, nyanya, lakini saa hii sinafanya vizuri sana 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 sana. We can say tuko na kitu kwa mfuko kwa sababu tuliondolewa madhara mingi, na pia vile mvua ilirudi hata kule tunakaa katika vijiji zetu tuko sawa, na pia hata sisi tumejua umuhimu wa kuconserve. Mpaka huko kwetu tuna conserve, tunapanda miti, igawaje sana sana tunaangazia na miti ya matunda.
Kabla tukuja hapa tulikuwa tunaenda mistuni kushoma makaa. Wengine wetu walikuwa wanaishi hapa mistuni kushunga mifugo yao hapa ndani. Sasa tukaambiwa na serikali tutoke, hawataki mistuni tena, watu waishi ndani ya mistuni. Sasa hatuharibu misitu, tunatunza. Hata sisi ndo hatutaki sasa hiyo watu tukute watu wakishoma makaa ndani.
It is during President Uhuru Kenyatta's tenure through the Kenya Forest Service that community forest associations were engaged in creating awareness of the negative consequences of forest destruction. It did not require much convincing because they had seen the results of their actions. After all, Kenya Forest Service developed approaches that are working wonders. Plantation Establishment and Livelihood Improvement System PELIS. Loitoktok is a good example of PELIS. The commercial tree plantations are utilized to meet market demand for timber and other tree products.
And in the community around here, we used to be thinking the forest belongs to the government. We became the enemies of the forest. We cut down all the trees, and now we started getting the consequences of deforestation, which is climate change, and even the food security was scarce. We started even having scarcity of water. So we found it very necessary to come together, start working as a group to rehabilitate the degraded forest.
Umuhimu wa CFA katika conservation ya forest ni kwamba our community ama CFA members ndio wenye walihusika sana kuharibu hii misitu mwaka wa 2008 post-election violence. So hiyo nguvu yenye walitumia kuharibu, ndio tunataka hiyo nguvu tena irudishe misitu.
So far, we have about 266 community forestation across the country. We have been able to develop and formulate about 166 plans, and we have signed about 115 forest management agreements. In fact, today, I will say, they are acting more of our social fences across our jurisdiction. And that, to us, is something that we must do. That's where the future is.
The Community Forest Association have become a reliable partner in conservation and rehabilitation of forests, water towers and catchment areas, some of which have recorded significant rehabilitation and recharging of water basins, hence rivers flowing throughout the year, while also improving the entire ecosystem.
Tuko na miche 250,000 aina mbalimbali. Tumeweza kujaza zile sehemu ambazo ziliharibiwa na wazee wetu, kwa sababu walikuwa hawajui maana ya msitu, hawajui, walikuwa kazi yao ni kuharibu. Sisi tukaweza kujaza takriban mikoko 100,000 zile sehemu ambazo zilikuwa zimeharibiwa.
Kama kungekuwa hakuna msitu, sisi watu wa jamii hatungefaidika, jambo la kwanza. Pia tungekuwa tumeathirika ikiwa kama tsunami imekuja, wimbi nao linasonga mbele. Tukiangalia pia tungekuwa na uhaba wa samaki baharini. Samaki ilikuwa ni kitego. Samaki wana lay eggs, wana hatch through to the sea. Ikiwa hakuna msitu, samaki hapa tungekuwa hatuna samaki.
Another effective tool that the government through KFS has employed in protecting, rehabilitation and management of forests in Kenya is modern technology to complement the human capital of this dedicated and disciplined service.
We have about 2.5 million hectares of public forest, and our deployment of about an inpost of about 2,300 forest rangers. And if you look at that number, our one ranger is taking care of about 1,100 hectares against what we should be going forward, one ranger to 400. That means we have to mobilize our forest rangers. We must also provide technology to ensure that they are able to cover a bigger space even with less resources, as we continue seeking to get more of them in numbers.
This has seen the KFS establish a forest resource monitoring system at the Karura Forest-based headquarters. The technology is a mobile application supported by satellite signals which sends forest alerts to forest rangers, reducing the turnaround time, thereby improving effective response.
And it's an intelligence-based system because it sends where there is change in the forest jurisdiction. And that change is communicated on a mobile app, and it alerts our forest officers to tell them that there is a change in this specific area. And therefore, it gives also them what we call the MapMe. MapMe is what helped them to move from where they are to where the change has happened. And this has helped us to almost have what we call near real time, detecting of the changes that happens and responding to them immediately.
Public-private and people partnership is another approach that Kenya Forest Service has embraced in its conservation efforts. These partnerships include other government agencies, non-governmental organizations, as well as communities and individuals. The Adopt a Forest approach has enabled over 180 corporate organizations and government agencies to be involved in tree growing as part of corporate social responsibility.
First organ to adopt a forest was the cabinet itself, and that provided leadership from the top. And we are happy so far. We have about 108 partners, and already they have adopted about 56,000 hectares.
We have more than 4 nurseries under inside Mau. In every corner of Mau we have a nursery. We have 4 within Mau. Our target for this nursery is 1 million trees per year.
Each and every user group kuna tree nursery tumeestablish na assistant ya forester wamekuwa wakitusaidia. Pia katika planting tumekuwa na NGOs ambao pia wamekuwa wakituassist like WWF Kenya wamekuwa na sisi 14 hectares tumeotesha na WWF na hizo zingine tumeotesha na Equity Bank.
So mining by nature is destructive, and we are obliged as a company to rehabilitate the land and bring it back to the way it was or even better. And we have decided to go for better.
Kama ni mbolea, kwa sababu wakati wametoa ile topsoil imebakia mchanga ambao hauna rutuba. Sasa kuna nunuliwa mbolea zinawekwa juu na tukipanda tunaonelea maisha ni kama yale yalikuwa enzi hizo.
The leadership of Base Titanium, Base Resources, is actually very keen on the legacy that we leave behind. We are working together with the Ministry of Mining, NEMA, Kenya Forestry, Kenya Wildlife, Ministry of Agriculture to see the best post-mining land use option that we can have within the area.
Learning institutions have also been engaged to ensure children and the youth grow up with an understanding of the importance of trees.
Okay, for our school, the trees are important to us, or they are of significance to us because of purifying the air, for beautification of the school, and also it provides nutrients, fruits. Some years back, the school was not so beautiful, so we thought that planting trees will make it more beautiful, even for shade, so that when you're tired in the evening preps, you can sit around below the trees and study well.
I'm so proud because in those days the school was not beautiful and there was a lot of erosion. Now that we have planted the trees, there is the soil conservation because the soil structure is maintained and there is the covering of the land. So there is no erosion at all.
It is through some of these partnerships that some forests have been fenced off around the boundaries so as to keep people at bay as well as the animals in their natural habitat, thereby reducing the often cited human-wildlife conflicts and to also tackle the threat of forest fires.
The electric fence, it was really, really helpful to the community and to the wildlife. And the fence itself, it costed more than 150 million to implement it.
Mount Kenya Trust is part of the partnership that is working to make sure that the ecosystem is fenced, is secured. And so far, over 200 kilometers of electric fence has been done. So it's a management tool that is very important in conservation of our forest.
Renewable energy in conserved environment is so friendly, it is eco-friendly, because one, we try to utilize what God provided, that is nature. We are trying to conserve a natural resource, and we are also using the same energy that is natural to conserve the same resource. And at the same time, it is less costly, because what is happening is that just to tap the energy from the sun, and then you use it to power the fence.
So we did the capacity building to them on how they can help in fighting fires. And after we identified them, their major work is to act as fast responders, because they will be in that area at that particular time, like in real time when the fire starts, and they can help prevent the fires as we wait for the larger trained team to come in and help in fighting fires.
As a way of enhancing the involvement of communities more in the protection of forests, Kenya Forest Service worked with the security apparatus to train community scouts who complement the role of forest rangers, whom they work hand in hand, like the case of Kirisia Forest in Samburu County, with commendable results.
Haswa kazi yetu kama community scout ni kuchunga forest na kuongelesha wenye wanaharibu, na kuna watu walikuwa wanakata makaa, wengine wanatoa post. Kati ya sisi na watu wa forest tumekuwa tukishirikiana tangu tuanze kazi.
Nobody forced me to come and take care of the forest. I'm doing it as a volunteer because I like the environment. And as we know, when we have a lot of trees, mostly the natural trees, we are going to have a lot of rain. And also, if we maintain our forest well, we are going to have some tourist attractions, of which it's going to bring a lot of income to the community. And also, by taking care of the trees, you'll find that we are not going to have a lot of drought in the area.
Sasa tulikuwa tunasema askari asipokuwa wewe unaingia unatoa ile unatoa, kama ni hii miti unauza, unapata kitu ya kuweka mfukoni. Lakini tulipoingia CFA ndio tukajua kumbe tulikuwa tunaharibu mazingira yetu wenyewe, sababu hii msitu ikiisha ni sisi tunapata shida ya kukosa mvua. Ng'ombe zetu zilikosa hata majani, sababu hii msitu kuna wakati ilikuwa imefyekwa kama kabisa na hakuwa mtu alikuwa analia forest. Sasa tulipoingia CFA tulijijua kwamba hata sisi tunaweza simamia vizuri hata kushinda askari, sababu askari wako mbali.
Through the council and directive of President Uhuru Kenyatta, the Kenya Forest Service adopted a multi-sectoral approach in conservation of forests, just like other government operations.
We used our structures of the NGAO, National Government Administrative Officers. So that's the structure we used in partnership with the KFS.
His Excellency the President, Uhuru Kenyatta, has been a champion of forest protection, conservation and management. He has been very firm, and his leadership has been unwavering when it comes to the issues of public forest conservation and management. This is demonstrated by his actions and providing counsel and guidance through the Ministry of Environment and Forestry.
Tunapanda miti ndio tuweze kuhifadhi mazingira yetu. Na hii tunahifadhi sio kwetu sisi, lakini ni kwa vizazi ambavyo vitakuja hata baadaye. Na tuko na shida kwa sababu nyinyi wenyewe mmejionea ukosefu wa mvua, mambo mengine ambayo yaendelea kutuletea tabu katika taifa letu la Kenya. And if we don't take charge and responsibility for preserving our environment, we will have nobody else to blame, because nobody else will do it. Nobody else will do it for us. We must do it for ourselves.
In many occasions, and this is something that we really need to acknowledge, His Excellency the President, in most of the state functions where he attends, the first business of the day is always tree planting. That by itself, it has a multiplier effect and bringing the culture to all Kenyans, the importance of trees. And that by itself could have created a positive impact across the Kenyan people in doing so. Finally, I would say this. His directive in 2018 that we attain 10% tree cover by 2022 through his support has been achieved. So basically, it's a constitutional obligation and his directive has been achieved. How else can you rate that? That's an A+ rating. And really we are happy for that leadership.
The collective achievements by individual ministries, agencies, and departments of government cumulatively is what our president, without his leadership, you've seen himself planting trees and visiting forest and visiting, and you've seen all this, including what we are actually part of, what is introducing what we call urban forestry. You've seen us now doing a lot of beautification of urban green spaces and so on and so forth, the Michuki Park, City Park, Arboretum, Karura, Go. I feel privileged. I feel quite privileged that I have during my tenure contributed a little to the cumulative, the global achievement by Kenya into this.
President Uhuru Kenyatta has been a champion of conservation efforts and climate change globally, evident through the many international climate conferences that the president has attended, others Kenya has hosted and co-hosted. Some of the conferences include the Stockholm Plus 50, Lisbon Oceania Conference, the UNEA at 50, among others. It is for this reason that Kenya also ranks highly on matters green energy in the world. His Excellency the President has provided counsel and guidance, hence the realization of the objectives of sustainable conservation and management of Kenya's forest resources.
Kusema ukweli, ijapo unachoma, utatuweka